breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos. My co-host, as always, Dr. Glenn Harrison. How's it going, buddy?
Doing good. I'm doing good. How are you on this evening?
Good. I am actually really excited about this topic today because we don't have to do anything other than to discuss like the high points, I guess.
Yeah.
You interviewed you did an absolute amazing interview with another healthcare provider, a Dr. Isabelle Amigues, who is a rheumatologist, super awesome.
From France.
Yeah, French. She got an awesome accent. She's super intelligent. She's got an amazing story.
Right.
We're going to break this down into two parts. We'll do an episode this week and then release an episode next week because the interview did go a little bit long. That being said, I felt like this interview was kind of in two distinct parts where it talked a lot about like her journey up to like how she formed her opinions and how she basically evolved into her way of practicing medicine.
That's right.
And I think the backstory is really important on that.
That's right. And then the second part, we get into the clinical, but we'll save it for next week.
Yeah, and that'll be part number 2. So if you guys like information like this and you like content like this, please hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications. We're going to continue to roll out content like this every other week or so. And without further ado, please enjoy Dr. Glenn's interview with Dr. Isabelle Amigues.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm here with a special guest, Dr. Amigues, who is, and I'm pronouncing that right, am I? Yes, okay. Who is a licensed rheumatologist, but has a whole new twist on it. So I see a lot of inflammatory joint disorders in my office, but I'm not a rheumatologist. So I'm really excited to learn more about this world, but also the twist that you put on it, I think is very, very unique. So maybe just a little bit, if you can give us your background, no, it might be a longer background, but that's great because you have a great story. But where you started practicing, where you're practicing now, and how you got into it, I think is really important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. That's really awesome. So I'm Dr. Amigues. I'm a rheumatologist that trained, as you can hear it, in France, because I'm French. So I did my residency and fellowship in France, Paris and Lyon. And then I moved to New York City, where I did it again at Columbia University. And then I moved to Denver with little kids because we wanted to be in a bigger apartment and be closer to the mountains. And recently, so I was at a pretty big institution, I enjoyed it. Then I had a health moment, let's put it that way. And we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And it changed my view of medicine, changed my practice of medicine. And I decided to open my own practice that is called Unabridged MD in rheumatology for now. And hopefully, I can increase other specialty in it. And the reason for Unabridged is that I felt that I was only offering a little part of myself in the institution I was at. And I wanted to offer all of me, but also treat all of the patients. So a non-edited version, an unabridged version of the patient as well as the physician, with this idea of going back, and I keep saying going back to the relationship of the physician and the patient that we used to have, maybe 70 years ago or something, where, in France, the physician would come to the home of their patients and they knew everyone, they knew everything, they knew what was going on. And we've lost that because we are becoming ever more specialized in something. We're doing like paperwork. And I think that the insurance system, and I mean, coming from France, I can really say it, like the insurance system is removing the pleasure of practicing medicine for physician, and it's detrimental to the patient. And we are maltreating the patients by doing this. And so we are lucky that some patients have recognized that and are willing to pay for better care. And they're like, you know what? I want the best for me. And so I'm gonna go there. So I'm very lucky to be able to offer this to my patients. And so far it's been amazing. I'm so happy.
That's
just
what
like,
you said.
I'm
It's
just
changed
so
everything.
happy.
And
It's
you
super.
kind of, yeah, you kind of stepping out on a limb, trying something new, right? You said to me, you're the only clinic like that exists like this in the entire state of Colorado.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the first one. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm not the last one, but I'm the first one. And that's great. I like, it's setting an example for basically saying, hey, and I think, my health history is really, and we can talk about it if you want, Dr. Harrison, but really it's this idea of, I want to live with intention. I love being a doctor. I mean, I love being a rheumatologist. I've done it in France, and then I did it again in the US. I mean, I could have chosen anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love it so much, and I was just like, I need to know that I'm enjoying my specialty. That every time that I'm seeing a patient, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting, pleasure from helping my patients, and it's not about me, it's about them. And what happened when you're in clinic, insurance based, at least that's what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're removing the autonomy of the patient. It's all about how many are like, we talk about providers. I hate that term because it's removing the humanity of the person you're seeing. Then you're talking about RVUs instead of, they might as well say revenue, like how much revenue you're making instead of RVU. So everything is just like data that have no soul to it. And going back, like doing this practice is just, it's just been amazing. Like, I'm happy.
Well, I love your passion. It bleeds out, and that's why you're going to be successful. It really does, right? If we're doing anything in life, whether we're, I don't know, changing the garage door on our garage, and we have somebody come to explain to us how the garage door goes on, and they are just burnt out, exhausted, going like the hamster in the spinning wheel, versus somebody who comes and is excited and passionate about putting these garage doors on. It doesn't matter if it's a garage door or rheumatology or functional medicine, for example.
Yeah.
That is only going to make things better.
Yeah, I agree.
And your courage to be able to do this is a reflection of your passion. Your passion gave you the fuel to do it. So to take a little step back, I think it's very unique, and I just learned about it before we started recording today. But there was a bit of a tipping point which changed the way you practice medicine, and it was the health condition. So if you could kind of just give us a little bit of I know you've probably shared your story a million times, but
I'm happy to. I'm happy to, because if stories are so powerful, because if you're listening to a story, you're learning. I mean, most of the time, right? You're learning. And so if you can learn from my story so that you don't have to go for this healthcare, then I'm sharing it. I love sharing my story, because I think that there's so much that I learn. And so then other people can learn.
It's true.
They probably, no one
stories. Yeah. They say stories are gifts for other people.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just share. So I'm going to share exactly what I told you, which is, very, very soon before my 40th birthday, I found myself mom of 3-year-old twins, married to someone that I very much admired, but I saw that I did not feel the love from, even though, I just didn't feel loved the way I wanted to feel loved. And like, just no pleasure in practicing medicine or even doing research. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, I've done 2 training and this is where my life is. And this idea that there was no joy in this life anymore. And it hit me, but literally from one day to another, it just hit me. And I was like crying. And I remember, like, I was writing papers for research, and I would put, it's funny, I still have it. I would put like a timer, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just work on my, like this research, and then I can cry. I'm not going to cry in between. So I actually got some stuff written during that time. And it's literally the paper that I'm the most proud of. And so, but then 2 weeks after my 40th birthday, I saw this gigantic tumor on my breast, and it turned out that I had stage 4 breast cancer, so metastatic to the liver and the bone.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Well, so here is where it tipped, is that I was in France when I got the diagnosis, because at 40, so 2 weeks before, I had decided I'm going to France. I'm going to France. I need to go back to my country. I need to be surrounded by my family. I need to be surrounded by my friends. And my husband can deal with my twins. We have a au pair. I'm leaving. And I was going for 4 days. That's it. And I did the biopsy of the tumor literally the day before I went, or maybe the day of. Basically, it was like, I think it was the day before. The next day, I was taking a flight to France. And then I got the result the day that I arrived in France. And I got this result. And what happened is that my friends who were with me on the phone a lot with this midlife crisis basically were like, oh, you're fine. It's okay. You have cancer, but it's okay. Like, it's just you. You couldn't just do like, a divorce for your 40th birthday. You couldn't just do like finding a new car, breaking an ankle. No, you had to do like a cancer, full-blown cancer. And they were laughing, and hearing the voice of optimism in the voice of your friends, like it was true optimism. There was no doubt in their mind, and they've told me this many times, there was no doubt in their mind that I would make it. Like, and not just I would make it, I would thrive. And so one of my friends was seeing a naturopath. I went to see the naturopath, and that's crazy because I'm evidence-based medicine. I do a lot of research, did 2, not just 1 training, 2 training. And I'm, I have a master of science. Anyway, I go to see this naturopath because in my intuition was like, go, you need to go. She opens our office for me on a Saturday morning, and amazing listening manner, like amazing bed manner. That I think we call it bed manners for me.
A bedside manner.
Bedside manners. Yeah. Bedside manners. And then I think for me, I call it listening, the art of listening. And she tells me, like, don't see the cancer as an enemy, but rather see it as a friend who's here to teach you something. And like any good friends, once you learned it, doesn't have to stay, can go.
So
wow. Exactly. So that was the tipping point. And that changed my life. Because I did not see the cancer as an enemy. I saw it as a friend. So, I mean, can you believe that, right? Of course, I was afraid. It's not like the fear wasn't there. I had fear.
But you had an open mind. You had an open mind for this natural provider to actually pursue it, right? Because that's kind of out of your circle. And then you also had enough, I don't know, openness to take what they're saying with more than a grain of salt, but actually let it,
It rang true. And and I think there's a couple of reasons why it rang true. The first one is that I was in a hole. And so when she basically mentioned this as a friend, I was like, oh, this may be my way out. And I remember, this is very funny, when my friend called and she was like, oh, you're like, at the time we thought it was, we knew that it was at least stage 3 because there was a lymph node involved at least, but, but then she says something, she's like, you're a warrior. What is it? And I told her, I said, well, I guess my midlife crisis is over. Like at that moment, I was laughing with her. I was like, I guess my midlife crisis was over. It was a short one. It was a short one. And then, so listening to this naturopath telling me this, I was like, she's right. I'm not going to see this cancer as an enemy because already I see a change in my outlook of things, right? I was depressed. I'm not. I'm action mode. And then the other thing is that I've been practicing for a long time now, more than 20 years. And data is amazing. There's no question that Western medicine is amazing. There's zero question about that. However, the power, and I thought at the time, it was placebo. I'm starting to realize it's not just placebo. But even if you just call it placebo, if you're the most reluctant person and you're like, okay, I don't believe in anything else than hard data, you have to believe in the placebo power because it's 30%, sometimes 50%.
Wow. I did not know that.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. If I give you a pill 30% chance it will get, you will get better, whatever you have. And it's weird because the Western doctors, they poo-poo that instead of embracing that. And so when I got cancer, I remember I was like, I want the power of placebo on my side. I want that extra 30%.
Exactly. If I can get that extra 30% just out of hope, I'll take it every day of the week.
Exactly. And so I went and I did, and a friend of mine reminded me that I said to her, I said, I want to live, and I have forgotten that. I want to live, so I will do everything, even if it sounds silly, even if, I don't believe in it, like, or whatever, I will try. So and so I had seen patients, to go back to my practice of medicine, I had seen patients that were my patients actually, and were doing amazing, like literally like sort of miracles, right? And then I was like, what is the difference between those patients and some other of my colleagues that are dying? Because I have no death. Like, I can't count on the fingers of my hands the number of deaths I've had in my practice of medicine. No other rheumatologist will tell you that. And so when I was going for this cancer, I was wondering, what is it that I'm possibly doing that's different? And so I realized and just to remember, I was at Columbia University. We had severe cases. I was at National Jewish. We had a lot of patients with interstitial lung disease. And I kept telling them, I'm like, I don't care what your pulmonary is telling you. You are a rheumatologic patient, so you are going to do fine. So like, I was like, they see horrible things, but that's the pulmonary side. Don't you worry. You're rheumatologic patients. You're going to do fine. And it's very funny. It's just, I started wondering, I was like, do I have less complicated patients than my colleagues? Or is it just the hope that I give them? Because I believe it. I mean, it's not like I don't believe it. I actually truly believe in the power of Western medicine. But I never realized how much the fact that I believed in it, potentially, using your word, bled into my patients' outlook at their own conditions. And so I've seen patients who were in the ICU. I have like 2 patients in mind that were in the ICU. All my colleagues were like, they are dying. And I was like, hell no, they're not dying. And they're not dying. They are like out. They are like having a totally normal life. And so when this naturopath said this, I was like, you know what? I want to get to what my patients have had, because those patients, like, those patients that potentially with other practitioners would not have done so well, they had something. They tapped into something that is so powerful. And I'm telling you, like, the 2 patients that were in the ICU that did very, very well, I remember just seeing their trust in the fact that we were going to figure it out. And I was like, I need to be in that space. And so that is why I listened. I was like, I think this naturopath is onto something. And I've been all of my life thinking that we need to get rid of disease, when literally the disease can go by itself with help. But it's not about fighting a disease. It's about putting all the elements that are going to heal our body. And then the disease cannot stay there because it's not an environment for them.
It's true.
So
like we were just talking about before, the power of the mind. And I said, well, what do students like? What do students go through during exam week or exam month? Depending, everybody gets sick. Absolutely, everybody gets sick. And there's other variables, of course. There's sleep deprivation, and that's huge. So there's other, but there's fear going into exam week. Their livelihood, their savings, their life savings, whatever it is. It's powerful, just to say the least.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think we need your naturopath on the podcast, if they're still around.
She's French. I'm sure.
Well, you'll have to translate. You'll have to translate.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool. Yeah.
So what was that? We'll call it journey like. Was there you used all the resources that you could, both conventional medicine, natural medicine?
I did. Absolutely. So I did the Western medicine. Definitely, because it's very powerful. It's there's a lot of immunotherapy now, so very powerful. But then I also did a lot of meditation, visualization, exercise. I was climbing, rock climbing. And so the rock climbing was unbelievable because I remember going rock climbing. So I got my first chemo. And then instead of going back to my house where I had rambunctious toddlers, with whom I did not have a connection yet. So it took me some time. And now we have amazing connections. But at the time, I did not. I felt very guilty as a mom. So instead of going back, I actually went to the rock climbing gym and I climbed. And yeah, that was super cool because then I rock climbed and then I was like, well, I'm not dead today. I'm not dead today. I'm not dead today. So that was extremely powerful. So there was exercise. And then I discovered, so I really wanted to try everything, right? So then I started discovering Qigong and energy healing. I tried Reiki, I tried Qigong, I tried craniosacral therapy, massages, acupuncture. I tried a little bit everything. And then I kind of realized who I was feeling the best with. And so I had this sort of a treatment. I would go to Qigong, which was healing energy, really. Like it is healing energy. And I was doing that with her 3 times a week after chemo. And I bared the chemo very well, very, very well. I still had hair, which is not given. Yeah. So I was wearing a cold cap, which decreases the temperature of your scalp. So it's cool, but it doesn't work. Like I think there was like 40% chance to work. Yeah. It worked superbly. And the change of the outlook of people towards me, right? Because you would not know that I had a cancer. There was no way you would know. I did not want you to know anyway. And it was cool. It was very cool to just like be in the healing. And I decreased my workload for sure. And I just went to work with pleasure. And that's probably where it started. I was like, I actually love being a doctor. I love it. So I want to continue that, and I want to just do it in this very deep way.
So the naturopath instilled hope. That was a big part of what they did.
Absolutely.
Embracing it versus like when I asked your battle with cancer, and you said, I don't like to call it a battle, and then you schooled me. Then I learned. No. But I love it.
Did I school? No.
It's but you're right. We have a different viewpoint, and I don't know the history of Eastern medicine. But maybe this is the way it is taught. Maybe this is the way that, the ancient practices, maybe this is the way it was.
Yeah. So because I'm a nerd, I learn a lot. So just, I started, when I was in it, I was saying this recently to someone. I was like, when I was in it, I did not want to look at studies because I did not want my brain to realize that it was total BS. So the battle there was, if there was any battle, was a battle between my left brain and my right brain. My left brain was like, so the analytical, what are you doing? This is completely like, this is not evidence-based medicine. And my right brain was like, well, but it's working, but this is BS. Well, but you're feeling better. And so I had this battle constantly in my mind. And then finally, when I was doing better and I was cancer-free, I started looking at the studies, and I started looking at them for my patients. So I started looking at studies on meditation, and there was data. Like it's not just one study here and there. It's like meta-analysis, random controlled trial.
Yeah.
It's true hardcore research that is being done in this, but that there's no advertisement, there's no marketing about them because they're free.
So true. That's so true.
Free,
like
right?
exercise in brain cancer, breast cancer.
Yes.
What is it?
Any cancer.
40%? 40%.
Any cancer. Yeah. It's crazy. Exercise. Exercise is incredible. There's like, I mean, and every single nurse will tell you that they see it. They see it all of the time. The patients that are like, oh, I'm dead. Like that's it. Like they can almost tell you in advance who's gonna not make it. And So those are like things that I did. So you were asking me, so meditation, visualization. So this one blew my mind. I was like, what? So I wanted to do a research on visualization and rheumatoid arthritis. Turns out there's already research.
Really?
And
Wow.
super good research. And so you're like, well, there's already a randomized controlled trial. There are so many of them that there's meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is when, for your auditors, when you're looking at randomized controlled trial as if they were each a patient. So you're looking at each study is a patient. So it's instead of having 100 patients, you have thousands, right? Mm-hmm. It shows that it works. And you're like, wow. So if I tell my patient that they need to start visualizing that they are healthy, that they are, that their joints are not hurting. And so in this case, you have to make it positive so that their joints are wonderful, that they can do everything they need with their joints. They don't need as much treatment as the other group. And they're like, holy cow. So I was afraid to look at it during my cancer journey. But interestingly, once I started looking at it, I was like,
it reinforced your belief systems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I use it all of the time. And the one that I haven't, so, the problem with research is that you have to be able to research it. So if I tell you the power of the words are important, and I'm a big believer of that, right? So what that naturopath did was changing our approach and using friendly words, right? Mm-hmm. It's a friend. See it as a friend. See the cancer as a friend. See it as a part of you, right? Like that, you need to heal. She instilled in me some hope. She also told me it's going to work. You're going to live. You're going to be okay. And I haven't been able to figure out how to search for that. How do you look for a study on what people are saying? Because, you could argue that it's unethical to tell someone that they're going to die if they are not going to die, right? Mm-hmm. But there is some study about the relationship of the patient and the physician. And when the patients have very good relationship with their physician, I'm saying physician, but it can be any.
Sure.
Well, it turns out that they do better.
Makes sense, right?
It does. But so if it really does, how come we're not offering that to our patients right now?
That's so true.
Right? How come the insurance is not looking at the data of which they don't care? That's what it is. Which physicians, there was a study that showed that women have better outcome for their patients than men. And it's not like the women are being paid more, and it's not like the insurance are paying, because technically you could say, hey, they're doing better, so the women are doing better, we should maybe pay them more. Not that that's not the issue, but it's actually interesting to realize that it's not there is no way to right now in the insurance system to recognize that. Mm-hmm. And so doctors are burnt out and they feel like the number of doctors that just want to get out of medicine is so sad.
It is.
Because you give, I did 17 years of study, but that's a lot. But vast majority of people do at least 10 years of studying. So you've done 10 years of studying, and then you're going to give up on being a doctor just because you feel burnt out. And burnt out comes from the loss of autonomy.
That's right.
But if I'm a physician, I'm a patient. As a patient, I'm telling you, I am not seeing any burnt out physician, mm-hmm. because what they are going to tell me is going to impact my healing. So
that's right.
I'm getting away from anyone that's burnt out.
How was that?
Yeah, that was good. That was really, really good. The interview went really long, so we have that second part coming up next week. But truly an amazing person, because I haven't known her very long. So really getting to know her and learn her backstory of the cancer journey, I thought that was pretty remarkable. Yep. And how she was willing to open up her mind to other interventions and pursue a natural path where everything started to change.
I thought it was interesting because obviously with her background as a researcher, she's very analytical, right? Mm-hmm. So there's nothing she does that isn't calculated from what it seems like when I listen to these.
Yeah.
I also thought it's interesting too, because I think as healthcare providers, or even as patients, because obviously we're still patients too, even as providers, I think that it's interesting to look at it like from a third person lens, where there's not a lot of times when I, as the patient, when I'm being treated for something, consider that physician's personal experiences and why it's formulating their clinical opinions. Does that make sense?
It's very true. I remember a long time ago, we were one of our mentors said that you can tell the type of doctor, what the doctor's health issues if they specialize in it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You have a doctor that's working on GI health all the time. Well, they probably had a GI issue.
Yeah.
Or Lyme or whatever it is. But no, yeah, I appreciated the interview. I appreciated her willingness to tell us her story and how it changed her approach to her practice now. And it's quite the transition. So she was willing to be vulnerable and share her story, and hopefully it'll help others.
Yeah. It was amazing. I really appreciate her. I really appreciate her doing that. I think that it takes a certain amount of guts and to be that vulnerable and like to tell your story. It's personal, right? And it's difficult, but I applaud her for doing it, because the interview was great. The second half I thought was super interesting as well. You guys are going to have to wait until the next one. If you liked this one, right? If you liked this podcast and this type of topic, please reach out to us and let us know. You can get a hold of us at info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You can get a hold of us on our websites. Mine is northlakeschiropractic.com. Dr. Glenn's is drgharrison.com. You can comment in the comments. Just get a hold of us and we'll do our best. And again, hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications, because we are going to have episode number 2 coming out in 2 weeks. And that one's also really, really good. So stay tuned.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Kolby. I look forward